Hello, guys, and welcome to week 8 of Fox Animation Reviews. And this week we only have The Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. And as usual, I will be covering these. I will show clips from Bob's Burgers, but I won't be showing any from The Simpsons because every time I post a clip from Family Guy and The Simpsons, the video keeps getting flagged for copyright, and it's just extremely tedious to, go. It's just extremely tedious to, have to file disputes and then wait. I remember one time in week 2, the episodes that aired October 4th, my video didn't get posted until 48 hours later because it was blocked. Like no one could see it. So I just want to give you all a heads up. There won't be any more clips from Family Guy and The Simpsons going forward. Only Bob's Burgers and Bless the Hearts and Duncanville, whatever. So starting with The Simpsons and the road to Cincinnati. This episode is sort of a bottle episode of The Simpsons. It works. It's definitely different from a lot of modern episodes nowadays, because the main Simpsons family only makes cameos. So this episode is a bottle episode because it focuses on two minor characters. Well, two, maybe I'd say recurring. I wouldn't say they're really minor, but Chalmers is pretty minor, but Skinner's not. So this episode focused on two more minor characters in the series, Principal Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers. And as they go on a road to episode, to Cincinnati, where Superintendent Chalmers has to present a speech for his job. And he's scheduled to go with one of the other Springfield school district staff, but they changed their plans, and then only Skinner is the only one to be able to go. So first they hop on a plane, and Chalmers he's afraid of flying, so they get off the plane. So they get off the plane after Superintendent Chalmers causes a fuss, and the airport kicks them out. Then Skinner begs his mom to use the car, and she allows, but they crash when they pick up a bunch of Shakespeare hitchhikers. And then somehow they get another car, but then it breaks down. It breaks down shortly after a biker bar, which Superintendent Chalmers accidentally breaks all of their watches, breaks all of their charging watches. I think was it charging on something. Yeah, he breaks something related to the bikers, and they all go after him. But then of course, Skinner sort of saves the day when he brings his army veterans to chase the bikers away. And I would say and then of course, after that, Superintendent Chalmers and Skinner go their separate ways because Chalmers is sort of tired. Tired of being with Skinner. He thinks he messes everything up when really, deep down, he sort of respects him because he's because he has all those qualities that many other of his colleagues sort of don't have. And I guess you could say it's sort of nice because we all know steamed hams was a very iconic moment of The Simpsons, and so this episode was sort of a pretty good letter to all those fans out there. Although I think Steve Hams was nearly an A+ scene, and this is nowhere near that. But I mean, I think I really appreciate how hard they're trying. I just didn't think it was that funny. Although the ending is sort of nice to watch, although it's pretty predictable. Simpsons cameo at the end was surprisingly funny too. But yeah, most of the episode I didn't really like because it's mostly just a typical, rehash of putting two people on a road to, and everything happens to them that's bad. Everything happens to them that's bad, and the two people don't, or at least one person doesn't like the other person. It's like in Hoops, the road game episode, where Ben and Shannon have to go in a car together to Ben's speech. It's sort of similar. It's sort of the same thing as this. And when Ben misses his ride, he begs Shannon to take him, and Ben makes everything worse. And it's sort of the same with Skinner and Chalmers making everything worse for each other. Although, except in that episode, it's pretty much Ben doing all the stupid stuff. But I think that episode was definitely better executed than this. But I do have to say that I still appreciate the crew for trying their best, to make a bottle episode with these two characters. And although it's certainly not really my cup of tea, it's nice to know that there are fans out there who really like this one. And I would recommend it if you want something different, but I wouldn't really recommend it if you are looking if you are a diehard Simpsons fan, a classic Simpsons fan that's looking for something new to watch. I probably wouldn't really recommend this one to you. Although, opinions may vary. There's also diehard Simpsons fans who really like this one, and stuff like that. So I would say The Road to Cincinnati is a sort of fine episode. I mean, it's not very funny. I sort of don't like the direction of it, but it does something innovative. It's a nice, it's a nice, it's a decent love letter to steamed hams, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I thought it was fine. It's nothing special. I mean, this season as a whole has been really mediocre to me. It's probably going to be worse than season 30, I think, because at least season 30's first half was surprisingly pretty good. Second half was pretty blah. So I'm hoping the second half in 2021 picks up. Otherwise, season 32 is probably going to be the worst season of the show's history to me. Like, I really enjoyed season 31, surprisingly. I thought 31 was a major return to form for The Simpsons, compared to 29, 28, 30 especially, and then you have this. 31 was definitely more of a return of sort of like the quality of the episodes were actually going up, but then even season 32 they basically saved all their bad or low quality holdovers with the exception of iColumbus and podcast news, and and they basically shoved them all into the broadcast season instead of having it sort of mixed up. That probably would have changed my opinion a little bit, but I'm glad I had a last season. I'm glad I enjoyed. But I would say this episode is definitely one of the better ones this season, although that's not really saying much in the scale of things. So next up is Bob's Burgers and the Terminalator II. I don't know why it's called Terminalator II when they don't even have a Terminalator in the first place. So Terminalator 2, Terminals of Endearment, and this episode sees Linda's parents get stuck at the airport at layover, and they need Linda to bring them itching cream. So Bob obviously doesn't want to go because he doesn't like Linda's parents, but Linda says she'll make it count as their visit. So then he decides to go, and I thought this episode was pretty much really really funny. Like there was a lot of funny stuff. You have like I can name probably a few like Teddy Teddy getting stuck in the ER was incredibly funny to me. I like seeing Bob fuss over his phone charger. I also liked the talk with Linda telling Tina that she got her wings before Louise and Tina did, and that's just to name a few. So yeah, Terminator 2 basically starts out with them closing the restaurant. They head into the airport, and then once they're able to get into the airport, they do find Al, but Linda's mom, I forgot her name. I honestly forgot her name. I am terrible, honestly. I am so sorry. I forgot her name. So Linda's dad is outside waiting, but then Linda's mom went back inside the airport to get something, and then she said she was on another bus heading somewhere else. So they have to go back in and get her, and then once they find her, they lose Al. So Bob loses Al after he starts talking. No, and then Bob goes to sleep, and then Al walks away. So then they have to spend the rest of their time finding Al. And I honestly think that really the only problem with this episode, I would say, is I think the moral was a little forced. I mean, the moral is basically Yeah, I mean, the moral is basically, stick with. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like atrocious, like Seahorse Seashell Party, with oh, be with parents who abuse you, like because that was the moral of Seahorse Seashell Party from Family Guy, which honestly is probably one of the show's worst episodes in the entire history of Family Guy. But I mean, I think the moral here was a little bit dumb. I think it was a little bit forced. But I mean, it makes up for it with its sort of heart, and I really like the different setting the episode Ghosts. I really like the different setting the episode has. From typical Bob's Burgers episode, most of them take place in the restaurant. But this one fully takes place at the airport. We've never seen that before, and it's really nice to see the show explore different settings. And honestly, again, I've said it's really funny to me. So yeah, this is probably one of the this is probably one of the better episodes this season. It's behind 200 and Fast Time Capsules, but it's still one of the better ones this season. Which again is I mean, Bob's Burgers is a very consistent show. I have yet to grade an episode less than a B this season, so that's a really good sign. Because I remember in season 10, I think I already gave 2 C's by this point. So season 11 is definitely, definitely better than the beginning half of season 10, at least, in my opinion. Even though season 10, I think, has stronger episodes like, oh, The Ring But Not Scary and Not Cooking with Gas, which are very top tier episodes. That, I mean, so is 200, but I mean, 200 still, for me, is a bit under due to some minor issues. So yeah, I'd say I actually really enjoyed the Terminalator. Like I thought I wouldn't really like this one mainly because it sort of does something. Mainly because I just thought it wouldn't be as good as it was, execution wise. But the delivery is great. The episode is funny. And again, I also like the different setting the episode has from other Bob's Burgers episodes. So I would recommend this to anyone who hasn't seen the show at all and they want to see it, and or like one you want to introduce to someone who hasn't seen the show at all, or like someone who hasn't seen the show in years and wants to get into a really good or like a fairly good episode along with the other ones that I mentioned. But, I mean, Bob's Burgers for me is just a very consistent show, and I love it. I love it for that because you're expected to get something at least decent every week. Whereas The Simpsons and Family Guy are very hit or miss in their quality nowadays, and I think that's just a testament to testament to the creator's dedication to his show. In season 11, Matt Groening was not on The Simpsons anymore. He was working on Futurama. That's why the quality declined with season 11, and then season 13 onwards it just declined. And then HD years, here we are. They're very mediocre at best for the most part. Then you have Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane left after season 8. Show declined, never bounced back. But Bob's Burgers, Lauren Bouchard's still on his show, and I mean, I'm not saying that the show can decline while he's still on it. It has a slight decline from the peak, which is seasons 3 to 7, in my opinion, because 8, 9, 10. I think 9 is the weakest season besides 1. But from basically between 2 to 11, I think 9 was the weakest. But I mean, 9 was still pretty damn good for what it was. So more things for Bob's Burgers to come. I can't wait for the rest of the season. So there you go, guys. You have my thoughts on these 2 episodes, of course, because there's no Blessed Hearts and there's no Family Guy. They will be returning next week, and so will The Simpsons and Bob's. So we'll have a full week of Annie Down next week. So I want to know what you thought about these 2 episodes, and I'll see you guys in the next one.